Yo guys, sorry you already know that today we are back playing some more Raging Loop. On the last time, we finished everything there is to do with Wit. We did both of these endings. This one was a bad ending, this one was just a normal ending. The conclusion of the Wit path. So, what we're going to do, the game has teased us that the next path is called Darkness. So that is very much intriguing, and also teased that the photographer guy, the big photographer guy, is actually going to take part in the feast. So that is going to be really exciting. However, to do that, I need to find it again. We need to decide the arrangements. So this was when we were trying to get everybody a room, and then the big guy said that he was going to stay in the shelter. So now that we have this information, we can go back and probably give him either a proper shelter or at least make sure that he knows that he cannot leave. I'm not entirely sure. But let's go ahead and start another new route. I'm so excited. I love this game so much. This game, seriously, every time I stop playing it, I'm just like, man, I really wish that, I could just keep playing more. But I have other things to balance, and so it's just, a slow, painful journey, because I could just play this for hours on end, I think. Alright, that switched into, though. I wonder how it passed on. Strange story, families with guardians to their names, accustomed to cleanse only when the mists come. They don't seem too hospitable guests, though. What a mystery. How did such unique customs survive in such a remote farming village? It was even more peculiar back in the day. It really does look like this is your calling, Q-chan. Oh, apologies. Anyway, we have places to sleep in and know what to do with the miscom. Let's go back to work. You're satisfied with the dorm, right? Then I'll use this place. If you want, you can use the cabin downhill. This prefab is pretty cramped. Don't worry, I can sleep anywhere. And you're going to live here, aren't you? You should get used to your new home as quickly as possible. He had a point. Also, I borrowed the place from Umatsu-san. I didn't have the right to let just anyone use it. However, we are going to enter the prefab myself. Okay, so we're just going to go in and be like, actually, I'm using this. Here we go. This was it. If I let Hashimoto-san take the prefab, his death would be unavoidable. By keeping him alive, I should be able to create a different timeline. Simply surviving wasn't enough. That meant I had to try all possible options. I had to reveal all the things I was ignorant or afraid of. For all I knew, I might have been overlooking some minor yet important details. But first, I wanted to try more impactful changes. Letting Hashimoto-san survive would have to greatly affect the timeline. That already happened once with Mamiya-san's survival. It even changed the guardians people received. And it might happen again. I can still remember the last loop. I'd become the snake, took out the wolves, and decided to live alongside the survivors. Most importantly, Rikako-san. Those sentiments had earned an unreasonably cruel conclusion. I can still remember the sadness and despair. But I couldn't really understand it. Why had I forgotten my fear of the unknown? Why had it been so easy for me to decide to move to Yasumizu and live alongside Rikako Uematsu-san? Was I that kind of person? I didn't know why, but it definitely seemed like I wasn't really myself back then. I felt like I'd become a part of something greater, not just an individual. The gears all snapped into place and brought forth that tragic ending. These feelings and guesses coming to my head left me without a clue as to where to go from here. A part of me did feel like fate or something divine existed, and that I couldn't escape its control no matter what. But my knowledge, discretion, perception, and intuition wanted to deny that line of thinking. There was no absolute fate. If there was something like that, it was either someone's elaborate plot or just a product of my imagination that seemed like it. I wasn't being a conspiracy theorist here, or an nihilist for that matter. However, I wanted to reject lines of thinking that stifle my ability to come up with ideas. If I could think creatively, I might be able to find gaps in the seemingly impenetrable bars jailing me here. Fusaishi-kun, is anything wrong? No, nothing. But since I'm going to stay there every day from now on, I think you should at least have it for one night. But I heard that Fujiyoshi has a culture of giving guests a warm welcome. If I'm to become part of it, I think I should do the same. Traveler reverence? That fits the general location, but not the state of the village itself. Did you hear from Huichi-san? Ah, crap. That was info Rikako-san had given me last loop. Well, I've been treated nicely. They even gave me a place to stay. You're a generous person, aren't you? Huh? Nope, not at all. Why not accept this kindness, Hashimoto-san? I guess I will. All good. So I'm assuming that the place that we stayed must have a bathroom or something, and this prefab must not have one, and that must be the difference, because I assume that just means that the photographer guy is not going to leave, because I'm pretty sure that's what happened. But after parting ways with them, I went to Kairi-san and had her help me get a shabby blanket, some newspapers, and a water bucket. There was only one bucket they could let me use, and it was a pretty bad state, showing once again just how dire Yasumizu's supply problem was. The newspapers weren't the daily news, but some old ones bought from Kamifujiyoshi as material supplies. I spread them out on the floor and spread the blanket on them. That was my sleeping spot ready. I also bought a portable toilet at that convenience store. Now, if nature called during the night, I wouldn't be faced with a difficult choice to either die or piss myself. Okay, so we figured that out for ourselves. We planned. So that way, that's not going to happen to us. After finishing up the preparations, I, just like last time, returned to the dining hall. I was given some shishinari again and somehow ate it all. Oh, you ate it all? Was it to your liking? Yeah, this one wasn't poisoned, so that's good. It's not bad, actually. That was a bit of a lie. I just came prepared for it because of my experience from last time. I still wasn't used to it enough to declare it good. Just what kind of boost would go with this? Then, like last time, I went on to fix plates. Last time I learned the symbols of the Higuchi, the Uematsu, and when I got in the snake, the Migurama symbol, even if it wasn't too clear. The Nosatu Mansion had theirs on the gate, so now I knew them all. This info could possibly lead me to the truth, so I had to remember it. Some time passed, and like last time, the students came back. We're back, huh? The bright yet tender Yasunaga Oribe. His tenderness was mostly toward his family, though. It was a very human trait, which was a good thing. I felt bad for him getting caught up in something like this. Whether he was an ally or enemy in the feast would greatly affect how it went. I didn't want him as an opponent, that much was certain. Don't know this guy. The free-spirited and slightly amoral Chikamochi Kamoshida, he'd left quite an impression on me. As a wolf, he was a threatening individual who could do some horrible things with a straight face, but what would he be like this time? And then there was her, Haru Makishima. Last time, she'd been brutally murdered, while the time before that, she sided with the wolves as a badger. She wasn't much of a contributor to the feast. I consider her to be a troublemaker rather than anything else. But I see, so you rose. You have tried again several times, have you not? Yeah, that's spooky. Haru-chan was so lonely at night that she left the school we were staying at all by herself. Then she went through the mountain path, and I don't know, the adults said they found her in front of Yasumizu, and there were rumors she saw something there. I don't know if that's the reason why, but she started acting weird afterwards. People said she was possessed by a wolf. She was the closest person to the mystery surrounding Yasumizu. She'd lost her parents to the previous feast, disappeared once, then started talking strangely. Summon a god of that caliber. You must prepare an appropriate ritual. Possession by a wolf is not something that can happen so easily. The village heads insisted this wasn't any sort of possession, but a mental illness. However, the fact that it was treated using Uematsu's special ability to take in such things made it seem entirely possible that the trouble surrounding her was of divine origin. But there was something I didn't really understand. I didn't know how, but last time Rikaku-san healed me of aconite poisoning. I knew it with my own body that this ability was more than just a religious rite and had an actual physical effect. That didn't necessarily mean that it would work on mental illness too. Honestly, there were too many things that didn't make sense here. True. That is a corruption not even I can take in. I didn't know the rules. It kind of freaked me out, but for now, I had no choice but to set Rikaku-san's issues aside. Yes, maybe we can learn more about the rules. What mattered now was Haru-chan. She had parental issues, a strange relationship with her granddad. All in all, she was a delicate young girl going through a complicated time in her life, and I didn't quite know how to deal with her. Fooling around with her didn't work, and Casanova-type characters seemed to scare her. I'd try to not do much and appear harmless. Maybe that'd work. Welcome back. This is Fuseishi-san. He suddenly moved here to Yasumizu. Hello. I bowed with one empty expression on my face. Or an empty expression. Nichan, it's an android. I had to do my best not to fall over at that. Huh? Why? I mean, he's not acting human. Oh. Haru-chan's being even more rude than me. I'm sorry, she watched a sci-fi movie recently. I'm human, just so you know. Hello, I'm Haru Makishima. She wasn't as wary as me as last time, at least. I still had no idea how to approach her. Have we met? Huh? No, this is my first time here. I thought so. Ooh, that's a little weird. Did she have memories of my seducing... No, of the previous loop? What? Kari-san, do you have a hand towel? Something similar had happened last time, too. It wasn't impossible that someone else had memories of the previous times. Particularly this girl, considering her mind held traces of madness. What? Crap, I stared at her for too long. I had to talk it off. Well, I actually feel like you're familiar, too. Ever been to Kanto? No. I see, then this must be something special. What's wrong? You're all red. No, I'm not. Oh? Huh? Was she easier than I expected? Maybe android-like coolness was the way to go with her, whatever that was. Oribe-san, I have completed the repairs on these plates. Whatever should I do with them? Cool manner of speech, robotic movements, playing with people's impressions was a bad habit I had. Oh, bring them here. Wait, weren't you talking differently until now? Acknowledged, executing, appreciated. Messerschmitt. Eat this, human banana. Mochi closed in on me, shouted some weird skill name, instantly undid my belt, and brought my pants down. I wasn't prepared for this. Okay, this is... Alright, I'm not gonna stay on the screen. Whoa. Some buddies you got there. Hey, Chikamochi-kun, there are things you can and cannot do. Hey, when else could I have done that? Well, if you looked at this as a joke, this was definitely well-timed. My android-like coolness, whatever that was, instantly became a gag. Look at them legs, though. His skill left me so dumbfounded that I just froze in place with my pants down, effectively giving a treat for the ladies and waiting for a response. Oh, wait, but you still have your underwear on, so, I mean... It's not the... Never mind. I was gonna say not the full treat, I don't know. How did the girls see this pantsless android-like cool guy before her? And again, what was android-like coolness anyway? Ha! Please tell me that you just, like, punch Chikamochi, like, as hard as you possibly can. Pervert, 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 perv. Not a positive reaction, of course not. Mochi's prank effectively gave her the worst possible impression of me. I feel like that should give you a worse impression of Chikamochi. Wait, what did I do? Her trying to kick my exposed ass over and over. The two boys stopped her, and then she, breathing heavily, fled the dining hall. The guys followed soon after, leaving just me and Kaori-san. Am I in the wrong here? I'll scold them later. She was all red ever since then. It was awkward as hell. I distracted myself by getting back to fixing plates. Eventually, we were joined by the old wolf guy, Mako and Rikaku-san. I wasn't quite done with my job yet, but just like last time, I was given a break, so I went outside. Ate the donut, bologna, rice, snows on the mountain. Yep, that's how it goes. Oh, Fuseishi-san, I see you were hard at work. Getting close to Rikaku-san was important for both survival and finding out the truth. I still had some affection for her, as well as memories of our time together. However, last time when I felt a similar way about Shami, I was hit with a big surprise. It wasn't just Shami, though. The Feast of the Omi Purge seemed to bring about a total change in the nature of people. If Rikaku-san became a wolf this time, I wasn't sure if she would instantly kill herself like she claimed she would. In fact, as a wolf, she would know Mako's guardian, or lack thereof, leaving the humans at a huge disadvantage. And most of all, if I got too close to her, it would make parting with her a whole lot harder. Even if I lost some of them, I had memories of the previous loops, so this was actually a big deal for me. The emotional strain would gradually pile up, and eventually even a guy as warped as me would snap. Thus, I would only get close to people as friends. That was probably the best way to go about this. I had no idea who'd even be alive once all this was over. It was even possible that there would be no one left. It's an old song about the teachings of great Lord Shinai-sama, the incarnation of this mountain that keeps us alive. Shinai's guardians are 1 snake, 2 monkey, 3 crow, 4 spider. She has teach me the song. I actually know it by heart at this point, and the memories it was tied to made it hard to listen to, but I acted like it was nothing. 8 at the damn Yobibito is the mandate. It took an uneasy tone. I looked away and saw Shami snickering as she waited for the right time to pop out. 9, 1 soul per day, not a bind. And then, yep, 10 the mist rides away again. Oh, hello. Huh? She knew exactly what she was doing with a sudden appearance. How mischievous. Were you hunting or something? Oh, no, but you're close enough. I just helped Kanjo Jichan prepare one of the beasts he hunted down. Yeah, that jump scare's not working on me again. I see that suits you. What the hell? That kind of hurts. Crap. I accidentally remember what she was like back then and gave a sarcastic comment. Whoopsies. If she'd been telling the truth back then, she wanted to kill me ever since we first met. That meant that even now she was... Hold on. Did that mean that all the stuff I jokingly said about her being a murderer was on the mark? After all, the 2 shotguns were hidden in the room even then. Hold on. The first time we met, our very first encounter was among the rocks near Saranaga. I picked up her flashlight, then she called out to me. What was she even doing there? It was late at night, yet she'd taken a flashlight and gone down to a dangerous cliff to reach a locally taboo area, Saranaga. She'd also said this. Listen, I just really wanted to kill. Yeah, I even returned back home just because I wanted to kill someone. Those might have been nothing but words to make herself seem like the big bad wolf she was. However, it wasn't unlikely that she'd come down to Saranaga because she was doing something worrying. She'd probably been there on this timeline too. We just hadn't met there. Maybe this time she'd actually finished whatever she was doing there? Well, no one had gone missing or anything, so probably wasn't murder at least. It still made me curious. Yeah, that is a mystery that I didn't really think about, huh? I was definitely attracted to her sheer attack mystery, but this time I'll focus on exposing the secrets of Yasumizu itself. He who hunts 2 hares catches neither. I would only consider her to be a potential hazard. Hey, I'm just saying that your wild image suits hunting. You honestly seem like a feline animal, Chimichan. Oh, Chimichan, I like that. It's in letting a carnivore have a taste of you. Whoa, how indecent. Please, call me Rikako. What the hell? You can call me by my first name, too. What a mess of an exchange. Though it's still served to decide what we call each other, so that was fine by me. You're flirting now, Undie Man? Suddenly, we were joined by Haru-chan holding a stick. Die! Ah! Oh gosh, I was actually getting chased by a girl because of lewd stuff. What was this, the 20th century manga? Undie Man! Undie Man. Undie Man! I was worried that nickname would spread and I really hoped it didn't. Can't believe that it was revealed that you wear underwear. What a terrible revelation this has been for the whole town. I couldn't have predicted that I'd run out of time just calming Haru-chan down and preventing the nickname from taking root in their minds. But here we go. The mist. No way. No, not the mist. Oh gosh. Was she afraid of the mist because of whatever happened 8 years ago? Haru-chan, calm down. Chimichan, where should we go? Or where should she go? In the spur of the moment, I went and called her by first name, which I was pretty sure she didn't like, but no one could care right now. I'll take her to the dorm. Where will you go? Oh, right. I've ended up staying in the prefab. Huh? Why there? What about the hut? I'll be staying there every day starting tomorrow, so I thought I had to let the visitor have the better place this time. Haruki-sama, how considerate. Stop wasting time. Hurry up. Rikaku-san, you take Miko-chan. Very well. Miko, it's time to cleanse, shelter, and dream. Okay. Haruki-san, I'll show you a shortcut. So let's go together. Haru-chan, can you walk? Miss, no. Breath chasing. Sound of claws. I looked at Chemi. She nodded and I picked Haru-chan up. There, no. She was pale, her expression was empty, and her body was shaking, locked in a fetal position. Just what had she seen in the mist? What had she gone through? I hesitantly tightened my grip on her. She immediately grabbed onto my jacket. I had no idea if I could get along with her, but it wasn't impossible. While on the move, I noticed Hashimoto-san headed to the hut I provided him, so all seemed good on that front. I wonder, it seems like each loop we get close to somebody else. I wonder if this is the loop where we get close to Haru. I mean, I think she's a child, so not like in a romantic sense, but like, just like she's like the one that we just talk to a lot more. I don't know, who knows, maybe I'm wrong about that. After leaving Haru-chan in her dorm room, I said goodbye to her, Chimi, and the two guys there, who were waiting for Haru-chan in worry, before making my way to the construction site. You can get there easily through the path behind the dorm, don't slip along the way. She also told me about how to prepare for the feast, and was generally pretty nice about it too. It was pretty annoying that I couldn't just tell her that I knew it all. Yeah, that would be nice. By the time I'd arrived at the prefab, the sun was down. I began by checking how I'd fare here. I take only the bare minimum of food and water I had here. I came prepared, but I didn't want to have to use the bathroom until morning. This was the shabbiest sleeping spot yet, but since I was still pretty awake, that allowed me to think a bit more. You say the shabbiest sleeping spot yet, but I don't know if you remember that first night that you spent in an outhouse. This is definitely an upgrade over that. Okay, it was time to assess the situation. Ooh, alright, I really hope that the game doesn't drag on too much, and I really want to get through the night, see what Guardian we are, and maybe even see who died, if anybody. Actually, I guess nobody should die. Ooh, that's exciting. First of all, there were two things I had to keep in mind. How Yuta Hashimoto-san joining would affect the feast, and whether I could find out much about the feast and Fujiyoshi from Haru Makishima. The former would probably be made obvious by tomorrow. If he died despite all I'd done this time, I'd be all out of ways to help him survive. I'd have to start considering if there was something inhuman at work that was actually trying to prevent him from joining. If he did join the feast though, the Guardian assignments would definitely change, just like they had when Mamiya-san and I joined. That would be neither good nor bad. However, the info I gained the first time when I couldn't participate at all, and the second time when I participated at the stake were completely different. Naturally, there was a change in human relationships and who benefited from them. And now, with this change, I will get to know people I hadn't interacted much with yet. Especially Haru-chan. I could only hope that being the undemand didn't result in her avoiding me. That reminded me, Mochi was the reason for my new title. Was he the biggest obstacle in my path toward the truth? Nah, he wouldn't admit it, but the guy like Haru-chan was just jealous I was getting between them. Okay. Oh, so he was the one who killed Haru-chan last time. Was the sad face I saw on him the day after just an act? I had no idea, but I could totally imagine him killing her only to regret it right after. Oh yeah, Yasunaga-kun also revealed his feelings for Chimi right before she killed him, didn't he? She instantly shot him down though. It seemed like she felt the same way the first loop, so that was probably true. Or maybe I just wanted to think that way. Then again, being liked by Chimi meant she wanted to kill you, so I wasn't sure if I was happy about that. That aside, as a wolf and as a human, he was a player skilled at debate and consideration. His words were rarely far from the mark, and he had influence over his mother's and friends' votes. He wasn't self-righteous or some kind of loner, and with a good backer spurring him on, he could be an excellent human player. If he was a wolf, though, I'd instantly know it from his lack of enthusiasm toward the feast. Maybe that would be considered cheating, but whatever. Yeah, you gotta use everything that you can to your advantage. Meanwhile, though Chami had done some bold things during the last feast, she wasn't a very active participant in the meetings themselves. That was probably because, just like Mochi, she played cautiously as a wolf and avoided drawing attention to herself. Taking that into account, Chami's whole hang me act on the first day was pretty impressive. It was bold for a wolf to make such a self-sacrificing play at that stage, but it was at a point where people weren't yet ready to hang anyone, human or wolf. She managed to make herself look like a human without any real risk and kept the act going until the end. I'd heard that Chami had a decently big impact on the feast I didn't participate in. If she became a human, she would surely be a valuable asset to the humans. Personally, I didn't want to be enemies with her again, but I had no idea what she thought of me right now before the feast had even begun. She herself had told me that she'd always wanted to kill me, which meant that the kindness she displayed to me so far could have been an act. I feel like once you're a wolf, though, I don't know if those words really just hold the same weight. That wasn't a pleasant thought. But the game's going to keep bringing them up, so maybe we should be more wary of Chimi. Rikaku-san too seemed to be pretty fond of me. That was probably because of her idea that I was a special person who could do something about the feast. I wanted to do something about it, but saw no possible way at this point. I couldn't help but worry that I'd disappoint her again. She was pretty passive in the feast, and her votes often prioritized the local folklore and fairness. She did some pretty dangerous things though, like trust me without any real reason to. However, as a descendant of the Uematsu family, she knew full well just how scary the feast was and how to deal with it. The fact that she knew Miko's position was pretty important too, and would surely be important now. Absolutely. I wasn't sure about Miko herself though. If she got a guardian and Rikaku-san handled her well, it'd all be good. But if that wasn't the case, I couldn't expect much from her in the feast, and her votes were based on how she felt at the moment. She'd be an uncertain factor and nothing more. Rikaku-san let her vote as she pleased, probably to hide that they were communicating, which wasn't great. Yo, if Miko ever becomes a wolf and is like shows the symbol to like Rikaku-san or whatever, that would be really funny. It'd be like, well, we already have one wolf because she didn't know what the symbol meant. But who knows? The old man who cried wolf was even worse though. What the hell was that guy? A senile old man? It really didn't seem like it. Kano-san had said that he'd survived the previous feast. He'd never said anything important during the feast, but he had a vote worth the same as everyone else's. He also pretended to be the spider last time. Though Rikaku-san came out as the spider as Miko's representative, she was essentially the real thing. Claiming to be the spider despite that was only meaningful if you were the badger. After all, if the badger presented themselves to the wolves once enough humans were out of the game, they would have a latent ally, which would be pretty good for them. And if he was capable of thinking that much, it meant that he wasn't just senile, quite the opposite in fact. But that idea didn't click with the fact that he'd always end up getting hanged. What was he even after? I had more than enough evidence to conclude he was insane, but that just made spending time thinking about him even more of a pain. Now, while Kanzo-san's actions and goals were obvious, he was hard to control. He'd been handling the feast based on his experience from the other ones. It was a relatively logical approach, but he wasn't flexible at all. He was extremely overbearing when it came to the flow of the conversation, and didn't mind making unnecessary sacrifices, which eventually led to a lack of stability. He also had a weak point in Haru-chan. When it concerned her, he could become dangerous and violent. The other elder, Tai Yamawaki-san, was simply a hyper-traditionalist who resented the younger folks. In certain situations, it was easy to get her to vote right, but in others, she was nothing but a hindrance. She was also Takumi-san's key person's weak point, and handling that whole matter was difficult. Tai-san's opposite was Yoshitsugu Oribe. He didn't care about tradition and hated the elders as well as the village heads. He was also the intense type and could easily mess up the feast. It was also possible for him to make peace with his mother and brother and enter the Yasunagi-kun faction. But if left to his own devices, he could break the rules and get eliminated from the game on the first night. Handling him was difficult. His mother, Kaori-san, was generally a passive player who followed Yasunagi-kun, but she had a tendency to do unexpected things. When Yoshitsugu had died, she tried to poison everyone's food, and she also tried to bend the feast rules and leave a dying message. She was the sole source of decent food here, and honestly I wanted her and her sons to survive until the end. Then there was the man who understood and loved her, Takumi-san. He was important as the facilitator and mediator, keeping Yasumizu unified despite the tribulations of the feast. He had a lot of weaknesses though, such as his antagonism toward outsiders and the village heads, as well as the tendency to do unnecessary stuff on his own. However, all of it was outweighed by his popularity, charisma, and sheer strength, which were useful every now and then. Overall, he was someone I wanted to depend on. He really had to form a trusting relationship with his brain though. Now, Kinosuke no Sachi was pretty hard to evaluate. He also said things that didn't have to be said, couldn't read the mood, and tended to create conflicts between himself and Yasumizu's people, but despite expectations, he ended up surviving. He actually wasn't wrong most of the time, but his presentation alone often ruined it completely. He was one of the few village heads in the group, so I could at least count on him to prevent any unfair votes toward Rikaku-san, but besides that, I just remember that he was a doctor. Couldn't he examine the dead bodies? Why did I have to do it when we had him around? He hadn't insisted on examining a single corpse so far. Was it because he was afraid of dead bodies or something? What the hell? That kind of joke wasn't funny in a situation like this. Besides them, there were the journos. Mami-san had been pretty much manipulated by Chemi, so reading her was hard. If she could keep her cool, she could probably make some decent contributions to the feast. Also, I felt that her knowledge of folklore and occult stuff would be necessary for my current main goal, finding out the truth. As for Hashimoto-san, he hadn't survived this night even once thus far, so I couldn't say anything about him. However, though the first impressions had made him seem like nothing but some fat guy, he did show an impressive capacity for logic and reason. If both Mamiya-san and Hashimoto-san survived, I imagined they would perform really well in the feast. Of course, it was hard for them to pass the barrier all outside his face here. Alright, there we go. Then there was myself. I was most suspicious here, and the one most likely to get hanged. Last time I'd been able to survive because I was a snake and leveraged my role well. It helped me get Takumi-san and Rikaku-san over to my side, as bad as that sounded. However, there was no guarantee that it would happen again. It was best to assume it wouldn't. In that situation, I'd have to focus on helping my side emerge victorious with myself still alive, rather than just helping my side emerge victorious. Even if I could loop, there was no guarantee that I couldn't get into a situation where I'll be hanged no matter what. That was a heavy thought to have, but I'd have to believe I could make it and keep pushing onwards. I had to keep going. Alright, are we finally going to sleep? Suddenly I felt drowsiness come over me. I really just want to know, like, what we are. Had I been so busy during the day that I ended up more tired than I thought? It was time to cleanse myself. I took off my clothes, wiped my body, switched into my spare underwear, and that was that. Then I locked the shabby-looking lock and returned to my bed, if you could call it that. What would I do if my door was suddenly knocked down by some scary werewolf monster, and some scary werewolf monster came in? I tried to keep myself on my toes. My brain knew that wasn't how the feast worked, so it just relaxed and let me to sleep. I'd be safe today. I wouldn't die today. I'd think about what came next later. Oh, baby. I felt a strange pain all over my body. Oh. Next, I felt that something was way too red. Come on, come on. Tell me, tell me, tell me. I could see the light of the outside through my eyes. I thought that meant it was down. It was dawn, but that wasn't the case. The morning sun had a bitter orange color, but this red right here was darker and colder. It also felt like my eyes weren't even closed. Why was I unconscious with my eyes open? Not only did my body hurt, but it was cold as well. Too cold. I was sleeping on the ground. My hair was on some gravel, while my hands felt grass and mist. It was cold. My senses awakened. No, it was more like something that had been cut off had suddenly returned. It wasn't quite the same as a typical morning, and the bizarre sensation took me a moment to adjust to. I was outside. The moment I realized that, all blood left my face. I tried to jump up, but then realized my body was sluggish, and that my body temperature was extremely low. Had I been out in this cold mist for that long? My mind was in better condition than my body, at least. Why was I outside anyway? Had I broken some taboo I didn't know about? Did the prefab count as outside? Would I be taken outside and killed because of it? Maybe there wasn't even need for a reason like that. It could have been that I've been used as an example. Here we go. If Yuda Hashimoto-san did the feast prep this time, no one would die tonight. But perhaps that was a bad thing for great Lord Shinai. The existence of the penalty, the corruption, was best made through example. A simple mess of a corpse was enough to prevent people from trying to escape or walking out at night. However, if no one broke that rule, no example could be made. But it was actually entirely possible to make an example without anyone breaking any laws. If there was a corpse tomorrow, everyone would just assume that the victim had broken a law. No one would question the Punisher's decision. Well, we hadn't had any unexplainable victims of the corruption thus far. That was my assumption anyway. Rikako-san going nuts made absolutely no sense, but it wasn't even clear if that was the corruption, so I would just leave it at that. Besides that, all instances of the corruption so far seem to have completely plausible causes behind them, so I'd assume that the Punisher was fair. I even got confirmed through a comment that we still don't actually have a direct answer for when Chikamochi and the old man who cries wolf both just sort of like died. When I think that was the first loop, when the old man was voted to get hanged, and then they went out walking, and then they both just like died. There has not been a direct explanation for that, and that seems like that would be corruption, I think. So, but maybe I'm misremembering some stuff. But it's weird that Haruaki's not bringing that up. But could I trust their benevolence now in this situation? I was an outsider who was barely known here, and that kind of made me the best person to make an example out of. Had I been too optimistic to assume I wouldn't die today? My throat was dry, which made me feel even colder. My irritation and panic broke my tolerable limits, and I finally regained my senses and control over my body. There was red light all around me. Its source was distant, but it lit up the entire mist, giving it a bewitching, unsettling shine. It made me both uneasy and scared. It reminded me of the first mist I'd ever seen, even though it was late at night right now. However, unlike the first time, I didn't feel any beast nearby. Maybe because we are a beast? I strained my eyes to look into the mist, and realized that I had someone at my side. Or rather, I realized that there was a humanoid silhouette within the red light. It was a girl. Haru Makishima. Haru-chan? As I tried to stand up, I staggered pathetically and collapsed again. I could barely even speak. She noticed me, slowly turned her face toward me, and looked down at me with eyes showing no hint of emotion, thought, or life. Heh. She was even smiling a bit. Fusei, she said. I heard my name. It surprised me, but I somehow turned to the other side and saw Kaori Oribe. Is it me, Kaori, and Haru as the wolves? Her eyes and expression were almost exactly Haru-chan's. God is coming. Was I still half asleep? Was this some sort of dream? Why were they here anyway? But if I could actually see the god that Shimi, Rikako-san, and Haru-chan talked about, I would accept it in a heartbeat. I turned to the direction that those two were facing. In red, misty darkness, I saw the outline of a large tree. It was the hanging pine. That meant this was the graveyard. Uh-huh. And there were 3 lights, or rather set to them, within the mist. It took me a moment, but I realized they were eyes. The vague silhouette seemed human and yet not human at the same time. Was that God? Why had they appeared before us? Question filled my head, my thoughts became dull, my sense of logic froze, and my vision contracted. Suddenly, God spoke. Look here. For I will tell you the true legend. Let's go! It was like a rumble, but it was definitely a voice. We will now tell you the true legend. I tried to follow what he said. The wolf was not fully dead. Yeah, okay, he speaks a little strangely. The wolves aren't dead yet. Truly, it is mankind that has been dead. It's the humans that are dead, okay. I feel like they're saying it, and then they're giving me, like, a translation in case I can't, see. So, like, monkey, snake, ape, or mankind, snake, ape, crow, spider. All creation is the making of Yomi. All of them are risen up from Yomi. The laws of the mountains says all creation is to be killed. You have to be chosen willfully to be the wolves. You were chosen to be the wolves. Bring great destruction upon the Yomibito and make pure the mountains and the something river. A noble gift we give it to you. Yeah, we will give something to you. You shall learn this and cleanse yourself. You must wear it and cleanse yourself. Do this, and the wicked mist shall yield it not harm. Do that, and the corrupt mist shall not harm you. So that's how they're able to go through the mist without it harming or whatever. By cause of the dark mist. Since the dark mist is so dense, we shall even also send you the badger. Tomorrow at night this time, alone Yomibito we shall inspire to be your sworn brethren. This worthy broke your knight be, and it's our help unto you, or something. This badger would be a guardian, it's our help to you, okay. So the wolves always got such a detailed explanation. They were low in number, humans received other guardians. They were under pressure to lie at all times, and we were surely conflicted about many things. The wolves were actually at quite a disadvantage here. However, they had more information. They knew their allies and enemies, and about the existence of the traitor unknown to the humans. Heart this, you should draw blood of the man every night. Yep. Anyway, seriously, do you have any idea how hard that was? Or you yourself would die. Yep. You'll be the ones to die. Threats too, huh? And may none otherwise be tied. Yeah, don't doubt this. He just repeated it for effect, surely. He really wanted us to believe him. So the three of us were wolves? Interesting. So I think this is going to be a loop where we get really close to Haru in a sense of we might get a lot of information from her because we're on the same side. I had no idea if that was true. Hell, I didn't even know if this was real or not. Then the red light became weaker, or my consciousness began to fade. I had no idea. And soon enough, it was all dark. And then we woke up. Let's go. I've been saying that all we need is a time loop where we are a wolf, and I feel like we're going to get a lot of different information than what we've gotten before. And my wish has been granted. How long are we going to be able to survive? I have no idea. We need to somehow not be suspicious enough to get hanged, while at the same time not having information. We don't have the information to provide this time, because we're not like the snake or really anybody useful. So this is going to be fun. I am looking forward to this loop so much. I'm so excited for it, but unfortunately, it's time to end off this episode. So I hope you're ready for this. I know I am, and I will see you all around the next time. So till then, peace out.